Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. So I'm going to keep this short. It's just going to be a Shabbat soundbite. So in the book of Revelation, the mark of the beast is said to be a sign on the forehead and on the right hand. Well, here's the thing. Many people have their own speculation of what the mark of the beast is going to be. It could be something injected in us. It could be something implanted in our foreheads or our right hand. However, if there is a mark of the beast, the mark of Hasatan, isn't there also the mark of YAHUAH? Let's take it back to the book of Exodus, chapter 13, starting at verse 4. Today you are going out in the new moon Abib, and it shall be when YAHUAH brings you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in the new moon. Right? So what he's talking about is the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Verse 6, 7 days you eat unleavened bread. On the seventh day is a festival to YAHUAH. Unleavened bread is to be eaten the 7 days, and whatever is leavened is not to be seen with you, and sourdough is not to be seen with you within all your border. And you shall inform your son in that day, saying, It is because of what YAHUAH did for me when I came up from Mitzrayim. And it shall be as a sign to you on your hand, and as a reminder between your eyes, that the Torah of YAHUAH is to be in your mouth. For with a strong hand YAHUAH has brought you out of Mitzrayim, and you shall guard this law at its appointed time from year to year. Right? So note in verse 9, he says, It shall be a sign to you on your hand and a reminder between your eyes. So the mark of the beast, just like the mark of YAHUAH, is going to be on the forehead and on the right hand. Our forehead, meaning our mind, what we believe in, what we put our trust in, what we put our belief in, our faith in. What is it that we uphold, right? Are we going with the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, which in this case, following his feast days? Because the thing is, when you follow YAHUAH and you're following his laws, statutes, and commandments and his feast days, you are set apart. And there is a distinction between who you are and who the rest of the world is. That is a distinguishing mark by you following the feast days and observing the Sabbath. That is a distinguishing mark between you and everyone else. So in your mind, it's like, who are you following? And the thing is, with the right hand, most people, right, in the world predominantly write with their right hand, right? There are a lot of people that write with their left hand, but most people write with their right hand, right? Or they work with their right hand. So the mark on the right hand is the works that you do, right? Do you observe the Sabbath? Do you observe the feast days? Do you keep them, right? Do you keep his laws, statutes, and commandments? Do you keep the Torah? That is the works of your hand, right? And between your eyes, that's the thoughts in your mind. Let's continue. And it shall be when YAHUAH brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers, and gives it to you, that you shall give over to YAHUAH every one opening the womb, and every firstborn that comes from your livestock. The males belong to YAHUAH. But every firstborn of a donkey you are to ransom with a lamb. And if you do not ransom it, then you shall break its neck. And every firstborn of man among your sons you are to ransom. And it shall be when your son asks you in the time coming, saying, What is this? Then you shall say to him, By strength of hand, YAHUAH brought us out of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. And it came to be when Pharaoh was too hardened to let us go, that YAHUAH killed every firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I am slaughtering to YAHUAH every male that opens the womb, every firstborn of my sons I ransom. And it shall be as a sign on your hand and as frontlets between your eyes, for by strength of hand YAHUAH brought us out of Mitzrayim. So again, the sign on your mind is the remembrance of why we observe these things, the remembrance of why we rest on Shabbat, the remembrance of why we keep Passover, when YAHUAH brought us out of Mitzrayim, the remembrance of why we observe unleavened bread, because there wasn't time to go ahead and bake bread, right? Now, I don't know if any of you make your own bread. I do. Making bread takes about 2 to 3 hours from beginning to end. They didn't have 2 to 3 hours, right? So they had unleavened bread. They didn't have time to go through the whole process of bread making. Let's flip over to Exodus 31, starting at verse 12. And YAHUAH spoke to Moshe, saying, And you speak to the children of Yasharel, saying, My Sabbaths you are to guard by all means, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, YAHUAH, am setting you apart. And you shall guard the Sabbath, for it is set apart to you. Everyone who profanes it shall certainly be put to death. For anyone who does work on it, that being shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days work is done. On the seventh is a Sabbath of rest, set apart to YAHUAH. Everyone doing work on the Sabbath day shall certainly be put to death. And the children of Yasharal shall guard the Sabbath, to perform the Sabbath throughout their generations as an everlasting covenant. Between me and the children of Yasharal, it is a sign forever. For in 6 days YAHUAH made the heavens and the earth. On the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. So again, another sign that sets us apart, a distinguishing mark. And the thing is, we're living in a time where you can clearly see the distinguishing mark between those who follow YAHUAH and those who don't, because he calls us to be set apart. So everything that we do, the way we live our lives, is going to be set apart from the rest of the world. And you can clearly see that. You don't need a physical mark, like an actual mark on your forehead or an actual mark on your hand, to see the mark of the beast and the mark of YAHUAH, right? So his Sabbath is an everlasting covenant. It means forever. It never went away. Let's flip over to Ezekiel chapter 20, starting at verse 9. But I acted for my name's sake, that it should not be profaned before the eyes of the nations among whom they were, before whose eyes I had made myself known to them, to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim. So the first thing is the name of YAHUAH is a mark of YAHUAH, right? His name is a memorial. It is on our memory. It is on our mind. That is a mark, right? That is a mark on the mind. So I took them out of the land of Mitzrayim, and I brought them into the wilderness. And I gave them my laws and showed them my right rulings, which if a man does, he shall live by them. So to keep his Torah, his laws and commandments, that is a distinguishing mark to show through our actions, right? Because you obviously have to do them. You have to walk them out. That's an action type thing. So that would be a mark on our right hand, right? And I also gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between them and me, to know that I am YAHUAH who sets them apart. He also says this in verse 20, and set apart my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, to know that I am YAHUAH your Elohim. So that's another mark that he gave, YAHUAH Shabbat, which is a distinguishing mark, to rest on Shabbat. So no buying or selling, no doing any type of work. Those are the marks of YAHUAH. So to understand the mark of the beast, you have to understand YAHUAH's marks. So if you are following his laws, statutes, and commandments, you are keeping the Sabbath, you are using and saying his name, right? Then that is the mark of YAHUAH. Anything opposed to that is the mark of the beast. Now, I do have my own theory of what the mark of the beast could be. So, in the book of Revelation, when it says that without the mark of the beast, you will not be able to buy or sell. And we know that everything that YAHUAH does, Hasatan imitates. Now, with the mark of YAHUAH, on the Sabbath, you cannot buy or sell. So, it could possibly be that whatever day of worship that is the mark of the beast, which could be Sunday, those who do not have the mark of the beast, they will not be able to buy or sell on Sunday. It is a very likely possibility. that that's what that is, because it's an imitation. On Shabbat, we cannot buy or sell. So if the mark of the beast is Sunday worship, on Sunday we would not be able to buy or sell.